Well, hey there, idiots. Welcome back to Observe. In today's video, we're going to be analyzing the nonverbal communication of influencers Matt and Abby. I will explain more of who they are in just a second. Let's go ahead and roll the intro first. Okay, for those of you that do not know, Matt, age 26, and Abby, age 25, are a married couple with two young sons living near Phoenix, Arizona. They have been working on their YouTube and TikTok careers for several years now, but in recent months, they have gone viral a few times, and not necessarily for the right reasons. They first met at a theater camp in Missouri in 8th grade and maintained a long-distance relationship throughout high school, with Abby originally being from Illinois, and Matt being from Missouri. They reunited in college at Missouri State University and got engaged at Disney World and were married during their sophomore year in 2019. When the global coronavirus pandemic hit, the couple began sharing content about their relationship on YouTube and TikTok. Their following grew significantly in 2021 after they announced Abby's pregnancy with their first child. At the end of 2022, when their first child was just 5 months old, Abby discovered that she was unexpectedly pregnant again. The couple filmed their somewhat anxious reactions to the positive pregnancy test and quickly posted that video online, which propelled them into a new level of fame as young, newly married, vaguely Christian influencers. To capitalize on their growing audience, Matt and Abby launched a podcast called Unplanned, where they discussed Abby's second pregnancy and interviewed other influencers and people in their niche, similar situations. Their second son was born in August of 2023. On the podcast, Matt is more outspoken than in their TikTok videos, and some of his comments have raised eyebrows among the listeners. Much to Abby's discomfort, in one episode he told Abby that, in his opinion, she in fact feels different down there after giving birth, and in another, he questioned why she eats as much as he does, given that she is smaller than him. At times, Abby appears to be visibly upset by these remarks, but the couple insists that they are happy together. They have also shared some unconventional opinions, including their decision to boycott Father's Day. Their explanation for this decision left many confused and even amused, as Matt expressed frustration that his pregnant wife celebrated both his birthday and Father's Day on the same day, even though they were on the same day. He implied that she had let him down in some way by having him grill his own food on his birthday/Father's Day, and demanded that the couple celebrate the holiday on a very separate day, well after his birthday. Recently, according to videos shared on Instagram, Matt and Abby took a cruise with their two young sons, aged 1 and 2, along with some extended family. Matt posted a room tour video explaining that they had booked 2 rooms and were sleeping separately, with each parent sharing a room with one child. Abby later posted a full recap of the cruise on her now deleted Instagram stories. In these highly detailed stories, Abby shared that they struggled to keep their toddlers entertained during the dinners on the cruise and had had difficulty reserving babysitting services on the onboard Kids' Club. Their solution to this quandary was to put the kids in their beds in their separate rooms on their own and FaceTime the monitors while Matt and Abby went out to dinner themselves. Viewers were quick to express concern about the potential danger of this plan, and the story went viral on TikTok. Critics questioned why they didn't just take turns going out to dinner, or put the kids in one room and order room service to the other, or simply just keep their arguably questionable parenting decisions off social media altogether to save all of us concern and pain. Some even compared the situation to the infamous case of
Jerry
and Kate McCann, whose child disappeared under similar circumstances during a family vacation decades ago. After days of silence during which Matt and Abby limited the comments on their Instagram, the couple addressed the controversy on TikTok. They explained that Abby's Instagram story had been misleading and insisted that their children were never left alone on the ship. Abby also added that baby monitors don't work on board unless you're only like 10 feet away, implying that they couldn't have been far from the children, despite the fact that they were saying they FaceTimed those monitors, making the range negligible. Matt further claimed that we had someone with our children at all times on the boat, period. While Abby added that they still used FaceTime to monitor their kids during their dinners because they preferred to have an additional layer of supervision, even if somebody was already with them. Although this controversy is likely the most negative press that Matt and Abby have faced since they began occasionally rage baiting their followers, it doesn't appear that they plan to stop sharing their lives with the public anytime soon. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at that apology video that they offered on TikTok in regards to this situation. We'll see if they seep anything non-verbally that counteracts what they're saying verbally. I think that's enough of the backstory and disclaimers. Let's go ahead and get right into this video.
Hey everybody, we usually would not be making a video like this, but there is information circulating about us that is completely untrue. So we just wanted to set the record straight, clear the air, because we take our role as parents extremely seriously. And we love our children more than anything in the entire world. And we're very protective of our kids.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause here. So something that I wanna make note of just immediately, it's a theme that I've seen across many apology videos here on the internet, is this possibility of whitewashing a scene. Both of them are wearing fairly light colors. He's wearing white, she's wearing a very light heather, and the setting that they're in is all white. Now, this could be because it's the millennial gray setting, but this is also an apology, so we can never fully discount the possibility of this being an intentional move. For those of you that don't know, people during apologies will wear this white to give the impression that they are being pure. So there is that possibility that that's coming through there. Then, non-verbally speaking, we're hearing that this is a fairly stilted, not natural addressing of the situation. We're seeing some very overt and controlled hand movements and gestures from Matt. Abby is sitting there simply checking in with Matt during this time. Right now, I'm watching his nonverbal communication as he's talking about how much he appreciates his children and loves his kids and all of that side of things. We're seeing some no shakes going in there and some prolonged eye blinks as well. So those no shakes could be a point of desynchronization. However, they are fairly macro, in which the larger a movement, the more likely it is to be able to be controlled. So the fact that he's doing that broadly, it could mean the you would not believe, or you might find it unbelievable, ergo the no shake. So that's the possibility coming in there. The prolonged eye blinks in there, they strike me as fascinating. A person can carry out prolonged eye blinks and they serve the purpose of being a blocking gesture. You separate yourself even visually from something that is negative. In this case, it could be a lie. So there is that possibility that even at this point, he's twisting the truth some, but they have been under heat for this specific decision, so it could also be a level of defensiveness from the negativity that has been pointed their way. We're seeing a number of things already non-verbally. Let's continue on.
Kids. So we just got back from a 7-night cruise with Abby's extended family, and this was everyone from Abby's grandma, our children's great grandma, to our 1 and 2-year-old. And so where this whole controversy started.
All right, gonna go ahead and pause here. He immediately does a sliding of his hands down his legs when he's starting to talk about who's there and what happened on the trip and things like that. That rubbing of your palms on your thighs is an indicator of agitation. This can even be done more consciously when you have sweaty palms. You could see people run their palms on their thighs to dry their palms. There's the possibility of that creeping out there, indicating that perhaps he's nervous about this statement, perhaps insecure about this statement. But since it's also reposturing from what he had said earlier, there is the possibility that it's just that. It's just a reposturing, indicating a new form of the statement that he's giving. He also has a partial shrug in there while talking about the grandma, and now we're seeing this confused expression come across his face, this overtly confused expression, which is in response to the backlash that they're receiving in regards to their parenting decisions on this cruise. So we're seeing a slew of nonverbal communication already pop through here from him. Again, Abby is still maintaining a small form and looking simply at Matt as he's speaking. Let's continue.
She started, I guess, is a few days ago, Abby posted on her Instagram story that we were at dinner FaceTiming the baby monitors while our children were asleep in their staterooms. And people started to speculate and believe that we had left our children alone in their staterooms. And that is just completely untrue because we had someone with our children.
So he's used this qualifier completely twice now. This is similar in that vein to absolutely. There are statement analysis experts that say that during times of questionable decisions, people who are not feeling as secure in their statements as they want to seem will use qualifiers to amplify what they're saying. One of the ones that's most commonly used is absolutely. And in a very similar vein, we're hearing this completely in there. And so for me, that verbally triggers a little bit of a red flag for me because with the Instagram stories that we see here, it is very clearly stated what has happened there. And so with him saying it's completely untrue, having that little verbal tick in there, knowing that it does contradict what they showed on their Instagram earlier, it makes me question even more so the validity of what they're saying now. Is it genuinely being authentic, or are they just kind of covering their tracks and trying to smooth things over from their poor decision making earlier? It's difficult to say still. We've got a bit left to go, so let's continue.
Someone with our children at all times on this boat, period.
I can see where my story did lead.
All right, so with that, he's going through, we had people with our children at all times on this boat, period. And so during that time, he is trying to reaffirm what he's saying by doing nods in there, which that would be considered synchronized. We had people with our children at all times, period. The nod forward, the up and down here in the culture that they're working through in America, the up and down nod means yes, it's an affirmative gesture. So he's doing an affirmative gesture, but as he's doing that as well, we can see little micro no's in there as well. So with me, I'm left wondering, why is he doing a mixture between those two? Is this still an overt macro you wouldn't believe? This part I'm a little less certain because of how small they are. They are starting to stray into that micro, less likely to be controlled, coupled with the fact that he's doing a more macro, more likely to be controlled up and down, mixed in. So these smaller movements that he's doing might be more of an indicator letting us know that perhaps this is a desynchronization point. He's saying something affirmative verbally while negating that non-verbally with his no shakes, making me question, perhaps those children weren't always under supervision, as also indicated by the Instagram stories that they had posted themselves. Abby's about to start speaking here.
Story did lead to misunderstanding, which is why I ended up deleting it several hours after posting it, is because I could see that it was causing concern and misunderstanding. And I do want to say thank you so much to those of you that were...
She's doing hand-wringing gestures in that, indicating nervousness and agitation. This could be for a number of veins. It does make sense contextually. But what I find fascinating is that she's saying that she took those down because of the fact that it was misleading. Possibly. I could see that being true if you've posted something that isn't what you meant to post and then taking it down to kind of do damage control, possibly. But on that note of damage control, there's also the distinct possibility that they saw that they had posted a thing that they were doing, which they had been fairly exhaustive about what they were doing. They had posted fairly detailed tours, everything like that. So this would be an interesting omission of detail in this specific instance that doesn't fit contextually with how they were posting. What it does fit with is they had been posting fairly detailed, so everybody kind of knew all of their business during this time, and this one facet was a negative thing, and so they decided to take that out and edit it retroactively. Now, seeing some of the nonverbal tells that we did from Matt, coupled with the agitation we're seeing from Abby, it does kind of push down that avenue of maybe they're twisting what actually happened just a hair here to cover their own butts. There is that distinct possibility. Let's continue watching.
Of you that were concerned about the safety and well-being of our children as their parents, that is our first and foremost main concern. But to know that other people share those same concerns for our precious boys, it really means a lot. So thank you. But I do want to clarify that we have not, would not, will not ever leave our children unattended. We would never ever want to put them in harm's way in any way. I do want to clear up the baby monitor situation.
I'm gonna go ahead and pause here. So as she's going through that, she's really amplifying the have not, would not, never ever, can't ever. And again, that falls into that earlier statement analysis that I had brought up before. As a person continues to try to hound in a point after they have made the point, it can be indicative of them feeling insecure with that response. This could either be because they don't feel like it's adequate, possibly, could also be that they know that it's not true, and both of those options demand further amplification of their point. So we're seeing this possibility of this overt amplification creeping out here, but now she's about to talk about the baby monitors, so let's hear.
Our children sleep in these blackout tents every single night, whether or not we're traveling or if we're just home. And a feature of these tents is they have a spot for a sound machine and a spot for a monitor. And even if we are sleeping in the exact same room as our boys, we always turn their monitor on so we can watch and see what's happening inside the tent, make sure they're okay, see if they've fallen asleep or if they've woken up. We just love to have eyes on them. We're always concerned about them.
All right, so during this part, as she's talking about this interesting sleeping setup for the children, that's neither here nor there for me. It doesn't sound like it's harming the children for them to have a weird little tent that they sleep in with a baby monitor and sound machines and things like that. I get that. Sure, cool. Neither here nor there. Now, where she starts to show some other nonverbal difficulty is when she's talking about how they always want to have observation of their children. They always want to have eyes on them, and you start seeing her start to shrink in a little bit on herself. Her shoulders come up, her head drops down, the neck starts to disappear, which for those of you, again, who do not know, your neck is a very important area of your body. There's a lot of important things, so evolutionarily speaking, we are more or less hardwired to protect these vulnerable areas during times of distress. Now, historically, this would be more physical distress. If there's an attacker, a wild animal, a rivalry tribe, anything along those lines, you protect the things that are vulnerable. As we've evolved and our complexities and conflicts have evolved, those defensive movements still exist. We still make an effort to protect vulnerable areas of ourselves, but it doesn't necessarily mean from a physical threat. It can be a perceived threat or even a psychological threat that they feel. So as she's starting to get defensive in this area, protecting vulnerable areas of herself, it's in regards to her stating that they want to keep eyes on their kids at all times. At all times. Now, this statement is a full black and white statement. It means that no matter what time of day, what hour, they have eyes at all time. It's not true, so it is to a level already amplified and exaggerated to prove a point. That, coupled with the defensiveness that's coming in there, makes me feel like, perhaps one, it can't be at all times, but then two, if you're feeling defensive about it, perhaps it's less times than even what would be expected normally or what is presented in this specific narrative. So now we're starting to get a little bit of some nonverbal context with what they're saying, and I feel like it's adding some clarity. Let's continue on through this.
And so that's why even when we would tag team and take turns at family dinner, we would turn on FaceTime so we could also have eyes on them as their parents if we weren't the ones, attending them in that moment.
And we're so thankful to them, you guys, because
and we're so thankful to them, you guys. So there is a prominent no shake in there. Again, as I said, could be desynchronized, could be we're so thankful and their nonverbal communication is showing no, we're not. But since it's so macro, it could also be that you wouldn't believe, which they might also feel like we wouldn't believe that they're so thankful because of very obvious reasons. Along with that, though, what I feel is much more clarifying than the overt no shake that's in there is the teeny tiny micro shrug, a lopsided shrug that's in there that indicates insincerity or at least insecurity in what's being stated. So as he's saying, we're so grateful to you guys, the viewers, for more or less calling them out on their questionable practices here. His no shake, questionable. His shrug, enlightening, and adding context to the no shake. It would be more likely then for that no shake to be a desynchronization point when coupled with the shrug as well. So I'm pushed a little bit away from them actually being so thankful for anybody's response to this system. In reality, they're defensive, as we've seen non-verbally and even from their own behaviors online in context with this, and I feel like this level of defensiveness is more telling than whatever they're about to verbally say. Let's see it.
We spent a lot of our time on this boat in our staterooms manning the baby monitors, and if it wasn't for Abby's extended family, we really would have not gotten a chance to really get out of the room. So thank you to them. Thank you to you guys for listening to what we had to say. It really means a lot to us. And
all right, so during that time while he's talking about being on the boat and thanking people that were around, again, we're seeing a lot of activity in the one side of his shoulder there, indicating that insecurity or insincerity. So we're left with the feeling of them being defensive about this situation, twisting some of the narrative of the situation, and having insecurity with areas of being grateful for people being concerned about the situation or being involved in the situation. We've got 6 seconds left. Let's watch that and then we'll talk.
And yeah, We appreciate you listening to the very end.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, both of them. Shrugs in there, insecurity, insincerity. Abby has a tight-lipped smile that doesn't fully reach her eyes, letting us know that this is a forced expression as well. Tight-lipped smiles can also be indicative of poorly veiled negative emotion. If you see somebody giving a tight-lipped smile, especially one that does not reach their eyes, that tight-lipped smile is oftentimes masking something else underneath, and very rarely is a tight-lipped smile masking another positive emotion. It's usually masking something more negative, and in context with everything else that we've seen here, we can rest assured that there would be a level of perhaps disdain for the people that are getting their fingers all up in their business, but to play advocate for everybody getting their fingers in their business, it wouldn't be that way if Matt and Abby hadn't decided to post all of their business to the internet to begin with. So Matt and Abby are sitting in the stew that they've created themselves, and now they're kind of having to deal with what happens with that. And again, people are just concerned. They don't like seeing instances where kids are possibly at risk. And again, it's showing eerily similar decision-making processes to the earlier case of Jerry and Kate McCann with their daughter being abducted and having never been found again. It seems though Matt and Abby were one small stroke of luck separated from a catastrophe. All that it would have taken was the wrong person to have a key or ability to break into somewhere. Any form of electrical issues in there would also have caused problems. There were so many difficulties with that could have easily been circumvented. When it really boils down to it, they also had the option of not going on this cruise or finding a way to not take their children on the cruise. So many solutions have presented themselves, and the one that they chose was arguably a very poor one, as many people on the internet agree. But that's my take. That's my approach to this. That's what I've seen. If you're watching this and you have other information or a different approach, let me know in the comments below. Perhaps you can bring more to light that helps everybody understand what has happened here a little bit more. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe. I should be uploading fairly regularly. If you want to be able to support me a little bit further than just subscribing and liking a video, you could consider going over to Patreon or becoming a member, and that just kind of serves as like a little tip for me here on the channel to help the channel keep going. No pressure, and I appreciate you being here regardless. But without further ado, that's all that I've got for today. My name is Logan, and you have been oh so awesome as you always are, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.